Hey, this is Jackie Chin. We're on another episode of Zombiepalooza Radio Live, and we are here today with an amazing film writer, scripter, and a producer of movies and lots of other talents. So I welcome Cam Calloway to show.
Jackie.
For a month for you.
I know. This has been simmering.
It's been a hot minute. All right, for those of us who for those of us who do not know who you are or what it is you do.
Okay. Well, I am Cam Calloway. I'm the founder, and I'm the founder of Hornz-N-Haloz Films. It's an independent film production company. When I say all around, we do writing, we do our film production, we do our editing, scouting locations, even the casting. So we're all around.
You got a bomb diggity logo I want on a sweatshirt.
I was gonna say that.
Or a sticker or a something.
Listen, Jackie, we got you.
Damn! Yeah! All right,
Listen.
Let me get out of the way. There is a story behind your logo. And
yes.
I am going to run this show this evening as we are developing the who you are and showing everyone the essence of this logo and your story.
Roger that.
Get out of the way. Look at that. Look at how cool that is. All right, so I have a conversation about its uniqueness and then give us the backstory of when it started.
Okay, starting from what's obvious, Hornz-N-Haloz, life is about making decisions. Actually, if you take a look at it, you see 1111. You see a 1 that goes back to the law of attraction, and that's also how Hornz-N-Haloz materialized. Keeping in mind with the with not just the law of attraction, just a balance, trying to keep a balance and getting to where you want to be. Also, most people would look at that as being red and yellow. It's actually gold and scarlet. It represents the my beloved Marine Corps because I served as well. So it has multiple meanings. Also, the 4 eyes represents the 4 elements that I've developed while making Hornz-N-Haloz films. You have to have intuition, instinct, intelligence, and the last one, insanity. You have to be able to move out of your box.
There's a hot lot of conversation we can have about that, because going and doing indie film in itself is something that for many people is extremely unique. They will get an idea, maybe be inspired by someone's project or a film that's already, in big box form, and they're like, when you get into it, it seems like it's a great idea. And hey, not everybody's doing, but everybody's doing it. They got one of these, or they got a camera, that kind of thing going on.
Yep.
But there is a lot that will test your willpower, your mental state, your financial state.
Yeah.
And it will also show you if the 5 people that you have in your circle should be there.
Yeah.
Or not. So give us a little bit more about the creation of the production company.
Okay. Before Hornz-N-Haloz Films, I was just plain old Cam Calloway. I started out writing scripts, and I was so excited. Like you said, you get that intestinal fortitude, and you're like, I can't wait to show this to people, and I'm going to get a manager, and I'm going to get an agent, and people are just going to love it. That ain't the case. In this world of instant gratification, people want to see things. They don't want to sit and read, no matter how intricate, no matter how verbally beautiful it is. No one wants to see that. So, like, okay, I need to take this to the next step. Keeping in mind, this is after thousands of submissions via email, going on Indeed.com, Facebook, Insta, Twitter, take your pick, just trying to find someone. So I decided to pull those reins back. And I said, okay, now listen, I have this script and I continue to write. That's another thing. As an indie, you must continue on your core path. If you're a writer and that's what you feel that you're destined to do, keep on planting seeds in your garden, but know what where your core dirt is, that's basically your arsenal, if you will. So after that first script, I realized this is not really gonna get me far. So I decided to take it to the next step, which also you mentioned, Jackie, financially. That would get a lot of people. It's either get this new lens or get groceries for the month, and then you end up having
I mean, y'all viables got to eat, right?
Yeah, you end up having hot dogs and ramen noodles for the next 4 months for a $500 lens. But that's going. I mean, that's nothing wrong with that. I understand that, but it's about the choices you make with the balances again. So with that, yeah, I had ramen noodle and hot dog nights, but sometimes it's steak and potatoes. But anyway, I decided to invest in myself and purchase my own equipment. Luckily nowadays, this is not like back in the 80s where Hollywood, if you will, had the veil, that big veil of, for example, like the the Wizard of Oz, where there was you can't go past that veil because they don't want you to know what's going on. Nowadays,
Honey, it's called gatekeeping.
Thank you. That's for the word. That's the word.
It's gatekeeping.
Yeah.
So many out there have the knowledge base.
Yes.
They don't want to be able to tell someone else how to do it or even show them the resources that they could get to be able to do it, because there is that, if you do it better than me, and I'm a little bit something about that. But yeah, so please continue.
Yeah. So with that, thank goodness for companies like Sony and Blackmagic, because they made cinematography cameras and they made them available to the general public.
Yes.
Now, keeping in mind, we have these people on this side viewing these films, and I can do that, and even I want to do that. So they challenge themselves. That was my story. I'm looking at this as an indie. And when you write, you try to do something that's viable. You don't want to try to write something like Raiders of the Lost Ark or Jurassic Park, because you don't have the technology for them.
Right off the get, it's a little high reach. It's not to say don't do it. It's just to say mind your budget, mind your financial cues.
Yes.
As you're doing it.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about the importance of the cues that you get for what is around you, and how did you go about expanding out of that?
Okay. Well, when I wrote this film that we're going to talk about, and I have 5 of them, but I wrote it in mind of the resources I have around me. I'm originally from the planet of Chicago, but I'm now in the big.
You got your own thing going on.
Yeah, but now I'm in Wisconsin now, so we have a lot of woods. I mean, a lot of forests, forest preserves, reservations. With that, I looked at some of those places, and also local, not just local restaurants, local stores and things like that. Whether it's a liquor store, whatever it was in that script, I kind of incorporated that, and I actually reached out to these people. And you'd be surprised, as an indie. I mean, everybody, you can walk down the street even after this interview is done and ask someone what's their favorite movie and why did it touch you. So people are very relatable, especially if they see Hollywood like this, but you're an indie and they're a store owner and they realize their struggles and they actually want to help you.
A lot of times you can find people to help piece part your film together if they see that common struggle or
Yes.
that common bond,
And that light.
and you're able then to say, well, I'm writing this scene and it involves, say, a liquor store, or it involves a restaurant,
Hmm.
and have that conversation with them and see what can be done. It not only, after you get the film out, helps to get the film put together, but
Yeah.
it also helps to give them some advertising. So, hey,
Yes.
your shop is in my film. Tell everybody you know. They're
Yep.
going to want to watch it because this is
Yes.
something that feels close to them and they can relate. That
Yes.
is helping to build your audience. Talk
Yes.
about the importance of building your audience before you put the film out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really important. Like you said, not just store owners, but even going back to your own advertising. Like you said previous, your favorite colors are red and black. I personally am getting you your Hornz-N-Haloz hoodie.
Yeah!
I'm definitely doing that, but you have to become a walking advertise. I mean, even this shirt here, this is our Hornz-N-Haloz stick to the
So
script.
yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So talk about stick to the script.
I mean, everyone knows what that term,
Yeah, stick to the script.
but you know what I mean? But also when you're filming, I mean, hopefully you have a good cast where these are actors that know about sticking to the script, but keep it in mind, you have to stick to your own script. Your I guess your career script, if you will. You have a path. Remember, you were the screenwriter. You have to continue. You have to basically continue with what you're doing. With writing, with the pre-production, all of those different steps. That's sticking to your script, because you can get so overwhelmed within an independent film because there's so many facets that you have to take care of. But also remember, after this is done and the success of this one, what do I got next back there? You know what I'm saying? That's what you have to do. And you have in order to keep, and you know, Jackie, in order to keep viable in this industry, you not only have to have something creative, innovative, something that's going to get people talking, but the main thing is you have to have something next.
Yeah, there's a lot of times when someone comes into doing indie script writing, or creating a film of any kind, they will be so focused on getting just that one thing done. And sometimes when you're trying to get that film put together, there can be a downtime. There can be a downtime for whatever reason, whether it be mental, emotional, physical, or just you're tapped.
Yep.
And you just don't have the ideas coming.
Yep.
But it's real important to have one of these.
Yep.
Yes. Like, I don't care what size it is. It could be tiny, or it could be huge.
Yeah.
But have something, or even use, this.
Yep.
Oh, that showed up weird. Use that to be able to write down other ideas for other pieces.
Yep. For next projects, or even a voice recorder on your phone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Always have something, because as a creative in the indie world, you're always, life is about experiences. Literally. Like, I mean, and I guess, I mean, that has a greater gravity. That has a greater gravity than what even I understand I'm saying. But every time you experience something, I heard this song about life is a movie. Everything you see, you can take different pieces of a puzzle over here, put it over here, and now you have this whole thing. But if you don't have it, like you said, if you don't have a notebook or so, it's poof, it's in the air. It's like a.
She'll be like, I'll keep it up in here, and then you start working back on your original project. That focus changes.
Yep.
And you don't necessarily remember what it was in your downtime that you were thinking about. Yeah. So now we're going to get into the mix. I have something up here, and people are like, well, she just move out of the damn way. So I'm going to move out of the damn way. And we're going to talk about
banjo.
All right. So there are so many pieces to this script and
Yeah.
to the making of the film and to the post-production stage of this film. Let's talk about why, or wait a minute, not why. How did you come up with this name, and what is the significance to you? Maybe not necessarily to the film, but to you.
Okay. First of all, I do want to say this. I think with not just any indie writer, even ones that's affiliated and connected to Hollywood, like Steven Spielberg, Stephen King, anything they write, it has a connection. They have a connection to it. It's a part of them, whether it's an experience or what have you. So actually, Banjo is a two-part deal. The exec producer before I had an exec producer is a very good friend of mine, who is of course now the executive producer of Hornz-N-Haloz films. He came over to my house one day and he was telling me about this story. He's the bear in the water. I'm the city slicker. He's the bear in the water. So, yeah. So he was telling me about this situation. He went camping 4 hours north of where we are now. And he had a friend that was originally from Chicago. Now, this guy had never been camping before, anything like that. So he, at the end of the night, he decided to play. We're jokesters. Jackie, if we're ever around, we randomly play jokes on each other. He got me a couple of times. So he decided.
Doing that out in the middle of the woods.
He just, yeah.
How does that exactly work? Probably not very good.
It's not a rabbit out of the hat. So he told this guy at this end, and we even have a video for that on our Hornz-N-Haloz YouTube page. It's actually funny. He told them, just beware. He's like, if you hear banjo, just like, get to running.
No, you didn't.
Jackie, it gets better. This guy said, "What's a banjo?" He's like, "Oh no." Yes. Keep in mind, Brian, he's telling me this story. So I'm like, he didn't know what a banjo was? He's like, no. So he decided to play on that. So he got in this 10 zip. He's like, all right, good night. He's like, Brian, what's a banjo? So this dude was horrified the entire night. So he didn't tell him that what banjo was. And this was before Banjo, the film, was. So he didn't know it was an instrument that originated back in the West African Indies or nothing like that. So Brian told me that story.
I have such an urge to do that, thing, but I'm not going to tell him to wait.
So he told me that story, and I just started writing. I'm like, okay. So with that, I started listening. When you write, you need certain elements, whether it's your whiskey and your cigar and your typewriter or music or what have you. So I just put on YouTube and started listening to music, and I basically wanted backwoods. This is before Banjo / in the movie, his name is Orion Reed, before he originated. So I started writing, and I put backwoods music, banjo music, and I'm from Chicago. I've been here over 20 plus years, but I love banjo music, and I'm loving country music now. Don't judge me. But as I was writing, there's a particular song, if you want me, I can mention that as well, that came up, and it stopped me from writing. Not much will stop me from writing, whether it's the smell of food or time to go to work. I will continue to write. I mean, I live basically here. So this old song that we all know, "Oh, Susanna, oh, don't you cry for me." The original song by a man named Stephen Foster came up. I'm continuing to write. And like I said, this was before the concept of this supernatural being, banjo. But there's a banjo in the original song, "Oh, Susanna," obviously. Yes. The second verse of that, a lot of us don't know about that, because that's a song that we heard when I grew up as a kid. You hear that outside, and it's the ice cream truck. You asking mama for some money, right, because you want that cream. You want that chocolate eclair, you want that Mickey Mouse. Yeah. Or the ice cream bar, the ice cream sandwich bar. So the second verse stopped me in my tracks. I would rather have everyone listening to this to go and look at the original song. From where I'm from and what I am, it stopped. Jackie, I could not write for the rest of the night. It shook me that much because I felt, this is an old school term, I felt bamboozled because the core, the like I said, this regular song that we used to hear, oh Susanna, oh don't you cry. And then, of course, when something happens, usually even in a boxing match or argument, you got to retreat. You got to come back.
There's got to be a fallback.
And then you got to come on back.
Right, because if you're having constant of a certain particular feel, then there is no reason sometimes to stay involved. But if you give that flavor and then you pause it, and then you go bam, that is going to grab you.
Yeah, that is exactly, I swear to you, that is exactly what happened. So I'm like, okay, Mr. Stephen Foster back in 1864 made this song. This is my 2023 Jordan Peele response. So I put some twist on it. And it's like I said, there is another thing, that song was never copywritten because back then there were no copyrights, which is also interesting.
Oh yeah, that is true.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So I put this twist on it because of the lyrics in that second verse, and I made banjo. And as anyone knows that song, he came from Alabama with a banjo on his knee. In this film, he came from Alabama, but he was making it up. And I know you're going to show that in the trailer. Yes. He came to the Wisconsin woods back in the 1800s, and he never made it. But he became something else. This man, like I said, his name is Orion Reed. And if you think of Orion, when you think of Orion, you think of Orion's belt, the 3 stars.
Right.
That's where he was named from. And so I guess I'm his child, the father of this being. And also Orion means hunter. Mm-hmm. So Orion Reed became banjo back in the 1800s. And to this day, 2023, he's still lurking around in the northern Wisconsin woods.
Man, this is a little early to be asking a question like this, but
I'm ready for you.
How much of Orion is you?
Whoa, that's heavy. Ooh, okay. How much? This much. This is not from the film. Okay, honest question, honest answer. A lot of it going back to what I said about Stephen King and what's his name, Steven Spielberg writing. It's a large part of me. Not just being in Wisconsin, but also in this film, there's a situation of historical injustice, if you will. It reflects back to me because just going through different situations and feeling and being treated unequal just because of what you are. And a lot of us, we deal with it, we endure it, we absorb it and keep on going. So a large part of this, of Orion, is in me. That was really heavy, Jackie. But as anything, as you have a dark part, you have a light part. So Orion is very much me as all of the stories, but this one has it that kind of pulled on the heartstrings because it makes you think of the different injustices, and you're just trying to be a pure, decent human being, whether it's in the pursuit of equality or love. And sometimes things greater than you will stop that.
Yes.
And what happens? You become something else.
Yes.
You become something greater than a situation. And yeah. So it's like that what's that Alan Parsons song? I am the eye in the sky looking at you. Yeah. So yeah,
very often characters will present themselves in a manner that assists or reveals personality trait, what they're scared of, what they feel is important, and gives a voice to be able to say exactly what is on their mind without the fear of someone saying, you, Cam, should not be saying that.
You hit it right on the head. I think that's one of the little secrets about anyone that's a screenwriter or a lyricist or a poet. The things that like you said, that you fear, that you may have insecurities about, and you want to get it out there. So it's like, okay, I want to do this, but then you draw away because of fear of rejection, degradation, so many different things. You just pull away. But with art, whether it's painting, like I said, writing, especially with film, because you're seeing it, you're hearing it, you're feeling it. It's like an indie's dirty little secret.
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, now this is what I've experienced, but I'm not really going to hide it in film. I'm going to put it basically in front of your face.
And you're, as the audience, going to have to deal with it.
Yep.
And the joy and the sorrow comes from when you get to sit in the audience and watch if they respond in a way that you think they should, or if they're going in an opposite direction. And so the next.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my goodness. We just went right into action cures fear. Yeah, that's very real. That's very true. By how to say this, I don't come off as, but I very much honor, what's his name, David Sandberg, the guy who made what's that movie, Lights Out and Shazam and Annabelle.
Oh yeah.
He openly admitted that he's an introvert. He's like, he don't like being around. It's not that he doesn't like, he has a hard time adjusting. That's how I am. So it's to get over that fear and to get over the nervousness, I had to push myself into this filming industry, because everyone says I have something to tell. Okay, how bad do you want to tell it? What do you have to do? It's in your head. Fear that's so interesting. Fear is in your head, and it's not necessarily vested in your heart. But action, that takes physical motion. That takes physical motion, same thing, but it takes determination. It has a point A and a point B. So in order to commit to action, you have to dissolve that fear. Fear ends up being the road that you walk on with your action.
Yes.
Wow, that's powerful. That's really powerful. And so I just let out another secret. I guess I'm an ambivert, an extrovert, an introvert.
I'm an ambivert too.
Yeah.
I completely get it. I'll tell you. So one of the conventions that I went to a few years back, I was going in and having some conversation with some people that were brand new to me. And, you talk, and it's a big building, and you're a little loud, and, you're talking, you're having a good time, taking photos, taking business cards, doing all the thing. And I heard this voice that said, I hear her. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So there's lots of, different things going on. A few minutes later, I found out that the her they were talking about was me. Because my voice is a little unique. And then I saw who it was, and they were all the way in the back, and I'm like, how the heck they hear me? Damn, was I that loud? And they come running toward me, and I'm like, I know the person. I'm excited too, but I still feel like that pull back when people start to recognize you.
Yeah.
for what you do, it's for us as ambiverts, it's cool, and it's like I need to go hide behind someone quick.
Yeah, it's like kind of what you do when you show a logo. You go like this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you slide right. Yep.
So I totally get it. There is a fear too that they're going to maybe say something you don't want to hear, or there is okay, I've been outed, because you can usually walk around in a crowd and ain't nobody know you, or they may know you and they're like, oh, I heard about you, but whatever. But if they know you, they know the work you put in, they know the quality that you do and all that, that's a different kind of thing.
That's a different kind of energy. Yeah, it is. It really is.
But it's still kind of, that's kind of crazy. All right, so action cures fear.
Yep.
Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to play. Let's see, what am I doing here? And of course, they change a lot of stuff that is going on around here. So hit the share screen. We're going to go over here. We're going to share sound.
In September 1863, a traveling man came from Alabama to reunite with his lost love. Orion Reed, a banjo player, only made it to the North Woods of Wisconsin. That's the man with the banjo. For a penny, he'll play any song that's happy and gay. Folks all smile and stop a while, because the man with the banjo makes their troubles burst like bubbles, chasing worries away.
I haven't watched that in a while, and I was just like, whoa, who made that?
I was, when I
got
first
choked.
saw that, all I could do was go, first of all, the cinematography on that is spot on. The coloration, the cinematic quality of sound, the attention to detail, and then the cast. Bloody hell, there's
Yeah.
cast.
Yeah.
And there are, when I first started this show this evening, I said that there are a lot of things that unfold as we have a discussion, from how you took the thought
Hmm.
seed and go all the way out to the production line, post-production.
Yeah.
In what manner did you decide to do the film, and talk about that question from a cinematographic point of view?
Okay.
Because it's deep. It has structure. It has life in it already, and it is something that grabs you already from the get-go. So talk a bit about how that unfolded for you. I mean, did you envision it, already see it, or was it happening as it was going along and you were just adding the elements to it? How'd you do that?
How to do it? Okay. Now I gotta.
Now you gotta work.
Now I gotta pull a rabbit out of the hat, but it's not a rabbit. Okay. Going back to the beginning of this conversation where we were talking about the core, like you're a writer, always stick to the core. I wrote in mind what I can possibly do with my natural elements that I have around me. Of course, I didn't have actors. I had these names, and I kind of visioned what I wanted them to look like, even though not just what them to look like, but their character build. So after writing it, I didn't even do scene locations yet, because I live in Wisconsin. There's woods everywhere. There's forests and everything, like everywhere. So from a cinematic standpoint, I looked at each character, and I guess that's another thing. Some people use Final Draft. I use what's it called? Movie Screenwriter. It helps you structurally write out.
Oh, yeah.
It is a good program. Actually, my sister got that for me. Bless her heart. She started me on this path too. So as I was writing it, I started looking at the different characters, like, okay, this one is intelligent and snarky. This one here is kind of scary, like this one is a loudmouth. So putting those together, I went on I guess I could say it, social media. I went to Actors in Wisconsin on Facebook. This is before I had that trailer, Jackie. I made a pre-trailer and people started just coming in. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait.
What did I do?
Yeah, like, holy shoot, this is a lot to do. But I mean, I was humbled by it. Like, wow, I got this reaction of all these people. So I said, please send me a headshot, because what you do as an indie, can I jump back a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Jay-Z, this is rap and stuff, but Jay-Z made a quote. He said a quote, and I take this with me to this day. He said, find someone in an industry that you admire and look up to and follow their path.
Yes.
He did that with Russell Simmons. With me, I did that with not Jordan Peele, but Jason Blum of Blumhouse.
Okay.
And I watched how they did a lot of things, like even the guy Ari, I forgot his name, Oren Peli, that made the Paranormal Activity. I just kind of looked at that, so that's why I did it like that, because in their I guess their casting, they said that you can't talk about this. There's so many different elements. It seems strange to people, but it pulled people in, and that's what happened. That's what happened with Banjo. So I started looking, like, I would go to work, get home, be excited to get home. I started looking through these different people and looking at, like, their physical build, their physical attributes in juxtaposition to the story. And I'm like, okay, this person can fit, this person can fit, this person can fit. Those are the three brothers. Like, holy shit. But then keeping in mind, at this point, my good friend, Brian Petrie, is also the executive producer. So I'm running these people's faces past him, and I'm looking at these demo reels. That's very true. American history has two stories. That is the baseline of Banjo. Not just the film, but the actual story. So, okay, I'm gonna circle back around and we're gonna get to that. So looking at those actors there, I started looking at the up-to-date actors, and I requested that they submit I felt really weird as being an indie saying, well, can you send me a demo reel of what you've done? And then I took parts of the script. This was really exciting. I mean, like, as an indie, I'm like getting like cheesy, like a chubby kid with cake. I took parts of my script and this also another thing, always protect yourself as an indie. Not that these people are dishonorable,
Right.
but get your scripts copywritten. I mean, there's a very thin line between what sucks and what's success. Very thin line.
Right. So your NDAs, your
Yep.
make sure that you have all of the legal ends
Yes.
before you start showing.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
a whole nother ball of wax. We're going to keep you on course here.
Yeah. Well, of
So
course.
when
Yep.
you started doing that,
Yep.
what happened next?
I started pulling these people together, and I created on social media, because it's a lot easier. I created a private page for all of the actors. And I'm thinking at this point, this is really developing. And Brian, we have this term, this is happening. This is happening, like, holy hell. Like, going from script to potential screen. That's what an indie thinks of. That's what you do. Even if you don't sell a single film, as long as you get a film done. That's if you're destined to do that, it's going to happen. But also, I'm like, I need some kind of foreshadowing. I need some theme music. Like, when you think of Candyman, you think of dun 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 dun. So I reached out. Yep, I reached out to different musicians, and then I had a humble big hit at this point, and I'm like, I'm really feeling the elements of this. I reached out to a gentleman named William Elliott Whitmore. This is a guy to me that seems untouchable. Like, you know how you have people in the music industry that you just can't reach. Going back to when I was listening to songs while I was writing, one of his songs came up called Old Devils. So I got a little bit, for lack of better terms, ballsy, and reached out to this man's management team.
Hey, you don't know if you don't know.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
And you know what? Just send him a text or an email and say, I would like to interview you. I look forward to your yes.
Yeah.
And because, you know, the worst thing that could happen is they say no.
They just say no, or they don't answer. Going back to those 1,000 rejection emails.
Do it. Do the thing.
You do it. So this is what happened. I reached out to his management team. Now, this man is an American blues, folk, American singer. I mean, he's insanely, I don't even use this word awesome, but he is.
He's very good at what he does.
He reached out to me personally, Jackie. I'm like, I had
that's bringing that to you. That's at 11:11. That's that put it out there. It's gonna come.
Yep. I screenshot him and showing people at work, like, this is William Elliott Whitmore. So he asked, he's like, so what is the film about? Because I had someone use my music without permission. Of course, that's another thing. You got to respect. This sounds like a very basic term. You have to respect the game. What belongs to people, respect that. Just don't
ask first.
Yeah, just don't use it just to use it. So I reached out to him and I told him the premise of it, and I sent him like this little skit not a skit, it was not what you showed. It was something before that. Mm-hmm. And he just said, wow, you can definitely use my song. Only thing that I ask is that you put me in the credits. That is it. I was shocked. So Brian, the exec producer, was also geeked as well. So listening further on, I'm continuing to, basically the gumbo was already done, the cinematic gumbo. Now we're putting the spices in it.
Now
right?
you got to do that, because that you always put the spices in
Yeah,
after
you gotta do
all that.
Yeah, you gotta make
That
sure.
gree in there and all that other.
Good. We talk about the gree.
Talk about the gree. The good gree.
Oh, yes. So I reached out
This
to.
is a supernatural thing.
Yeah, it very much, it is. It definitely is. So I reached out to him again because I heard a different song. If people don't know who he is, he made the song called Hell or High Water. So I reached out to him a second time and said, listen, I really appreciate this. There's another song I would like to use. He gave us permission to use 2 songs. So going back to the whole cinematic buildup, like, how did it come about? You need audio. I mean, in addition to the actual dialogue, you need music.
Right. So to talk about the importance, since we're at this juncture, talk about how music pushes the script along or gives it a third voice.
That's really, wow, that's powerful too. If you think of any movie, I mean, the foreshadowing and the sounds kind of sets an element. For example, that song Old Devils, I'm not going to go deep into it. That kind of sets a tone for what you're in for. But as a social, this is a long term, and I know you've heard it already. Yeah, Old Devils and One Man Shame by William Elliott Whitmore. That just threw me off because that still took me back to that moment when he said yes to him. But it sets a precedence for what the story is about. For example, if you have, like, back in the 80s, like late 80s, they have the whole cueing music on, and then it evokes emotions because that's what music does. It brings about emotion.
Yes.
There's also a couple of elements that I've studied because I am a proud graduate and continuing to go to film school at YouTube University.
I'm very familiar with that school.
Yeah,
when I had to learn how to do some typey things and all that, I get on this thing and go, oh, okay. Now there's a lot of junk out there. Talk about that. Do a PSA first.
Yeah, you file and filter through what's real and what's not and what's tangible, and you use it at your own discretion. Even things that are false, you can use it to a degree, but be careful.
Right.
But if you're creative, that
helps.
That changes it a bit. So also, a lot of people don't know of this, but going back to Mr. Oren Peli, the writer, producer, creator of Paranormal Activity with Jason Blum, when something happens and you saw a basic, like a scene and nothing was going on, and you hear that's called the fear factor. It's an actual scientific term. It's 19 hertz. It is the feel of when you watch Jurassic Park and you get that Tyrannosaurus Rex with that guttural growl, and it makes
and that sound travels to the back of your spine.
Yes.
And every little hair everywhere just goes pink.
Yep. And your eyes are going like this.
No. Because you're looking for where's the danger? Where's the danger?
Yep. So I did that, and also, like I said, I've learned that from Studio Binder and Film Courage, and just watching different elements. That's what you have to do as an indie. Going back to the whole cinematic, how did you build this?
Yes.
It is not easy, but it's very well worth it if you want to do it.
Yes.
It's like you said, I mean, bless you for, and I don't even use that word bless, but bless and thank you for even saying, like, it's going to test your limits. It's going to test your financial limits. So you learn that curve, like to peel off that fat instead of trying to go to a place.
Because you know something, the ones at the top had to learn that information from somewhere.
Yep.
Now they either had a person directly tell them, or show them in a book, or show them a film.
Yep.
But they got that information. Everybody starts at the ground zero. You don't just get hatched.
No, you just
know all this
you're
stuff.
released.
Unless you're like Mozart or somebody, but only he knew, I mean, he knew how to do music, obviously, bam. But there were other things that he didn't know anything about.
Yep.
And so Einstein and all the other people that just seem to know things. But when you go into that spiritual element, when you bring that 11-11 bond to you, and you start doing the call of the universe and saying, I need you to show me how good this can get, instead of
Good, Jackie. Yeah.
oh, I can't, blah blah blah. No, because the universe ain't about can't. The universe is, what do you want?
What do you want? Yeah.
So you wanted this.
Yeah.
You wanted this.
Yeah.
And your vibration matched the level of his vibration to give you the yes.
And you know what that's going back to?
Already had to be at that level for that person to go, I want to bring my work to that, because it attracted the same vibe, the same frequency.
Yep. Action cures fear.
Yes. Action cures fear.
Had I not sat here and typed that email out and hit enter, that wouldn't be up there. That would not be up there. But going back to the Hollywood thing, yes, like they've learned this, and this is what they've done.
Oh yeah.
So we're no longer knocking on the door. We're finding a way to take the hinges off and blow it off with indies. So, but going back to the whole buildup, so keeping in mind, this has been over the course of a couple of years, over like 2 years. This wasn't like a couple of months or nothing like that. This was doing a 9 to 5 and coming home and doing a 9 to 5. So for any indies, the only thing, there's two things that's going to stop you: yourself and death. Yeah. All you have is now that present moment. You are the one thing that's holding you up, which also means you're going to be the one that pushes you forward. Sure. So this couldn't have come about without getting over that fear and committing to some kind of action. And a cinematic pyramid is not, you're not going to see the sun over that diamond top as soon as you start. You got to lay those bricks. This is the brick lane. So
when you started getting the people together and getting the foundation of the script together and the foundation of the music, what did you do next?
It's funny because at that same time, wow, you're really kind of digging into it. You got your claws in me, Jackie, and I'm appreciating it because you're challenging me to think about the process. At that same time, while I'm doing that, I looked at, like you said, going back to Insta Twitter face, and you're seeing different independent actors. I'm saying actors that's not connected to SAG and things like that. They're being asked to do parts and they're not getting paid. Some of them are not getting catered to food wise. And of course they're providing a service. Right. So you want to treat them accordingly based on their craft.
Because they are coming to your home.
Yes.
And a good Southern film needs to have a good Southern vibe.
Yep.
All the way through.
Yep.
If you're going to want them to have that kind of vibe, you're going to want to keep them happy.
Yep.
You're going to want to keep them fed.
Yeah.
And you're going to want to keep a level of respect that is earned.
Yeah. And this went from Southern to Northern, but the other thing is I appreciate this because I've watched, YouTube videos with Jordan Peele, and I see how he communicates with Daniel Kaluuya, if that's how his name is pronounced, Kiki Palmer, I think. That same relationship I've developed with these artists, it is amazing. I mean, I'm not just saying that either. I mean, they'll just text, like one of the Carver brothers in his film, he'll just text me like, "How you doing, brother? Just checking on you." I'm like, wow. Or another one, John Brunson, he'll just do random checkups. And it's not saying just checkups on how the film is doing.
No, how are you doing?
Yeah, which makes you that makes you more not just you're no longer vested in the film. That's another thing. That's how success develops. It's not the work, it's the people. It's the
Not
people.
gonna make me cry. Why do I feel like crying right now?
But it's true. It's true.
It is true.
I mean, people forget about people, and they only think about the objectives.
Right.
So going back to that, what was my next step during this whole time? Back over there where my finger is, and what I'm going to get you is the Hornz-N-Haloz apparel, and that is not a plug, but it's a plug. That's
all right. So we're there. So tell people where they can get that. I can't point to that. You can point to that though.
You can contact us directly at Hornz-N-Haloz Films at gmail.com. Make sure it's a Z, HORNZ-AND-HALOZ Films. I should have been a lexicographer. That's a person who creates words. Also, if you want to contact us through our YouTube page or even on Facebook, we have put. That's another thing. We not only have this film Banjo. We wanted to sharpen up our cinematic swords, so we've done paranormal shorts, Spirit Box, Room 204. We've done different things to keep the energy alive.
Right. Because you have to have multiple projects going.
Oh, yes.
To keep in that creative bond. And sometimes when you're working on something else, it will help you be like, damn, I could really use that for this. Oh.
You know, that many conversations Brian and I have had, and it's like, whoa, this, like, oh, hell yeah. Yeah. So going back to the Hornz-N-Haloz gear, because like I said, I know you love red and black. Oh, you got one coming. I started a promotional campaign initially I started on GoFundMe because people didn't know much about it. It kind of flopped, which is fine. You fall down 7, you get up 8, you keep on getting up.
Yes.
So yes.
Talk about all that.
Hornz-N-Haloz Films. Yes. So we basically started pushing our apparel, Hornz-N-Haloz gear. We even have this elite edition where those who contribute, they get an exclusive, not just a contributor, but they get their names on the back of this shirt here. Stick to the script. I'm not gonna turn around because I realize, actually, you know what? I'm gonna turn around for you.
You can spin you around.
They say never show your back to the, but it has film.
Look at how cool that! Unless you have that written on the back. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So we have a campaign right now on GoFundMe. You can put Banjo, even if you just put Banjo film, it's automatically going to pop up. Now, please keep in mind that me and Brian, as indies, we're more concerned, invested in the post-production and the success of this film. So the finances for anyone who donates, contributes, or purchases any of our apparel, it goes towards paying these actors. Like I say, I'm in Wisconsin. I have there's 10 total actors in here, and of course the musicians. This is to accommodate them for their hotel stay, for food. Going back to the indie, always reach out to businesses. I have businesses who are willing to cater, but of course we need the funding. That's the only thing that's holding this up. Literally everything, equipment wise, we've invested in that already, because that's the core of it. Is after you get the script, you need a way to film.
Right.
But now we're developing a way to take care. We're trying to not develop, but we're in the process of being able to take care of these artists, because no matter how much you write and no matter how much equipment you have, if you do not have actors, you don't have a movie. And you cannot, you can
We're
play.
just going to be talking a little bit about the stuff that's going on over there, but they are getting closer to getting some things done. But if you don't have a script, number one, those actors don't have nothing to say. But then if you've got all of that, you don't have the actors, well, ain't nobody talking about nothing.
No. Oh, I want to bring up something very important as well. I'm not an artist. I mean, I'm not I can't draw. I used to. I no longer do. I wanted to create a storyboard for these, and this is kind of like a little independent screenwriter's hack that for indies.
Sure.
There's a site called Storyboard that you can actually create your own storyboard. I created the full storyboard for this. After these actors signed the NDAs, and I did have a notary as well, and I did it through Zoom, so everything is possible. I sent them the script, and then I sent them the storyboard. Now they're seeing themselves on the storyboard. Now it's becoming more from script to screen. They're becoming more becoming more invested as an actor.
Yes.
And just to see this develop just from something that you had, like you said, just Beirut just had in a little notebook. You know about this.
Yes, I do.
Yes. Just to have something from script to have it go into it, the process alone makes you feel successful. If you don't feel successful because you don't have it in independent film festivals, for the fact that you are no longer where you were when you started, that is what success is.
Yes.
It constantly builds. So yeah, Mr. Brian Petrie created this after I wrote the script. It's, believe it or not, I'm gonna put in that's another thing, Jackie. I put Easter eggs in this film to the point people are gonna have to watch this. And I'm not just saying this, I'm like I said, this is a social.
There's a lot of stuff that is in this film that and we could talk about because I'm really good at what I do. We could talk about this for like 3-4 hours, and you still would have no idea what all is in this thing, but there is a lot.
But it's still gonna come around, The story about Orion is right there with what you're reading. That's,
you know what? I was
here we go.
You say that because see, I'm a fan of like Hitchcock and old style films like that. And there is never anything that is put in one of those films that don't belong there. And you can, the other fun thing about it is that once this comes out and people can consume it, you can watch this thing over and over and over and over and still not get everything, because you're watching it from your perspective. And then as you watch it, your perspective changes. You become more involved, and then you're like, and then you can, there are so many characters in this thing. You can follow a character and how they develop. You can follow the coloration to see what happens as that changes.
The mood change, the energy change.
Yes, you can. Oh, there's so many. So you were saying about Easter eggs.
Yep, the Easter egg. That right there is actually one of the Easter eggs that was beautifully done. Every little thing that we've put in here is called, going back to graduating from YouTube University, it's called Chekhov's gun. If you see something, for example, if you see a Halloween movie, you see a meat cleaver in a drawer, it's there for a reason. They put it there for a reason. This right here is put there for a reason. And I wasn't going to give it away, even if the little writing's on all of them. So, happy Easter.
I know, right? So,
going into the movie, there's more. There's more.
Being able to have the insight to be able to make sure that it is developed enough so that you can enlarge your audience, because you know what's going to happen. Once this film comes out, people are going to be like, you got to see it because it's got so and so in it, or you got to see it because this person created it, or this person's music's in it, or however that develops. It is going to cause its own universe.
Yes, it is.
That is a beautiful thing.
We are very well aware of that, but that's the blessing and the beauty of their Hornz-N-Haloz.
Being able to, let's see, what do I want to do? Being able to have something that also entertains and gives a sense of allowing for someone who maybe have a lot of things going on in their life to be able to just sit and watch it and forget about some of the other more crazier things that are going on in their real life. Give me a little bit about that for perhaps somebody who is following your journey and tell a little bit about their backstory as to how it has affected or effected them.
Okay. It's the other cool thing, now that you say that, I have people that reach out from the shadows that say, like, and this is because not many people, I think pretty much the only people that know about the actual where the devil is in the details of this film, the script,
Sure.
are the actors, the writers, the exec producer, and I didn't even release it to Mr. Elliot Whitmore. He hadn't even seen the script, but he heard the premise. But people are humbly inspired. I mean, like people who I haven't spoken to in years, which is good. Even people who've just been following. There's certain people I follow as well because we're all inspired by one another.
Sure.
So just looking at how it has impacted people, and this is not even on the screen yet, that makes me feel like, okay, I'm doing something right. Even if it's not, even beyond the cinematic process, just inspiring people. And it's not sounding cliche or anything like that,
Yes.
because someone inspired me to do this.
Yes.
To start screenwriting and not being satisfied, going back to Oren Peli, like I said, in Jordan Peele and Jason Blum, and even ones on an independent level. There's a guy from the South Side of Chicago named Mark Harris, who's done film after film, or I'm sure Mr. CJ Vecchio.
Yes, I know him.
That man, I did a little personal interview with him because he inspires me. Because he's doing the Evil 3 film, and I'm like, I wanted to pick his brain.
I think he's the reason why I found you.
Yeah. That man is
definitely give a shout out. And his latest film,
the Evil 3. Jackie, I got a signed poster right around the corner.
I interviewed him for that. That was wow. That was incredible.
Yeah. So someone inspired me, and I'm getting those chills again to know that I inspired somebody. It's like probably how CJ felt. I'm just a little guy here, but to me, he's a big guy. So to the next person, they're the little guy and I'm the big guy, but that's
respect.
That's what you do. That's how indie films survive.
Yes.
Another thing, the laurels for the 2023 Chicago Horror Film Festival. I did it. So yeah, I did their laurels and was even a judge for that. So being able to start a grassroots company with nothing, just an idea.
Yes.
I started this. I was a single father of 3 children. While they're asleep, I had all these ideas laid out on the side of my bed to have people to be able to even sit here in front of you. The process.
Now you're gonna make me cry.
No, but it seems surreal. I mean, it really seems it seems surreal to, like I said, just watching all these papers to spread all over, to having structure, to having people come in, to having actors come in, to having a drone pilot come in, to have an independent film director and founder of that film festival willing to reach out and give me little tips and tabs.
Yes.
To have you, I'm like, but that's going back to that 11/11. That's why it's so
draw the people to you. And a lot of people, they think it's, some kind of silliness to do. But
no.
We're taught from a very young age, you need to listen to whoever, and you only need to follow their script on what they say you can and cannot do. And when we're little kids, if a teacher says, oh, you're really good at that, but not so good at this, and you really shouldn't even think about doing that, or you should think about doing that because you can do these things. It is really, really, it puts you in a box.
Yeah, it does.
Now,
it puts you right here.
In a box where you can climb out and it's open at the top, or it puts you in a box and you think there's no way I can climb out, even if it is open. I'm never going to have this stuff. I come from whatever my background is, and indie film, oh man, indie film allows for these people who have the real desire to go and do something and allow them to be able to get to whatever the next stage is And if they keep doing it enough, they will get noticed, and
Yes.
then they will be helped up. I have very rarely run into, and it does happen, but very rarely do I find that someone that started off indie at the base doesn't want someone else to come up with them.
Yeah, that's very, I mean, it's true. That's part of it. Two things that you said stuck out. You said you want someone to notice them. In the indie world, always notice and acknowledge yourself for what you are. Meaning, in acknowledge your feats, your impossible feats. For example, I didn't think when I was writing this that I would have this full cast. That is an accomplishment that an indie needs to absorb, accept, because that builds up your momentum. The other thing you said about sticking to the script, you just gave me an idea. I'm gonna make one for indies. Stick to your script.
Right, stick to your script.
Stick to your script. I mean, you can stick to the script, but always stick to your script because you have a plan. You have a destination that you want to reach, and it starts again. So, wow, this really went down the rabbit hole, but I'm loving this.
But it is all a part of how you do the thing to be able to get it into the eyes of people that are important. Now, I didn't have this in my original because I was busy doing the other stuff, but here it is, and this is really cool.
I'm
so
proud.
Since you talked about it, let's talk about this.
Okay, Mr. CJ Vecchio, I'm friends with him on Facebook. Also, I mean, we've texted, we personal numbers too. He said that he was looking for laurels for the 2023 Chicago Horror Film Festival, and of course, people were saying, "I got an idea." I was at work, Jackie. I'm like, you know what? Watch this. So I just started. It took me, to be honest with you. I mean, when someone looks at something, they can appreciate or not appreciate the value of it. But I'm like, I want to do something very different. So it took about 12 hours to develop this, believe it or not.
I know what goes into doing these things. Yes, I do.
It just wasn't scribbling in a notepad. I had to structurally do it where all of the. So I'm just looking at different previous film festivals from all over, and I'm like, for a horror festival, you have Jason. When you think of horror, you think of Jason Voorhees and you think of Michael Myers.
Oh yeah.
So that's where I had the meat cleaver and the butcher knife. I'm like, there you go. Just build. Just build, Cameron. Just build. So he ended up liking that, accepting that, and that's now being used for the Chicago Horror Film Festival. So I'm really.
I am always about getting out there and giving these people a platform anywhere I can that are helping others to be able to rise above.
Yes.
And it's super cool. So we have, we've been like all over the place with this. So what I'm going to do is we're gonna start getting into some other things. Now, these are taken directly from your trailer, and when I saw the like I said, the coloration and even how you decided to do the lettering for this, I'm very interested in that. And then so you have this fabulous background. You have, let's see if I can get this. You have the lettering that's like that, and then you've got this very, very plain text. But the plain text, so let me get out of the way.
So actually, if you
look at that.
If you look at that, if you look at that, I mean, it looks like the actual word banjo will look like it's engraved wood. I studied color wheel. I can't remember the name of it right now. But how colors make, like, it gives you certain moods. So the font was really important. I wanted, and of course, basically the childhood songs will never be the same as going back to the Oh Susanna. I wanted to have, like I said, the actual font in the front is, it's prevalent, but that top one, I wanted to give age to it. And if you look inside of there, which I'm sure you could probably see, and if you haven't, you will now. Banjo is right there in the middle of that, up under the word "sing," under the word "the." He's very, very like faint down there.
Mm-hmm.
He's sitting. But like I said, that at that point he's Orion. He hasn't become Banjo yet.
Right.
And also, if anybody in the film industry, whether it's indie or major, there's the different light gradings. I think it's 8,000 Kelvin that mimics moonlight.
Yes.
So when I was creating this, when I was doing the color grading on DaVinci, I kind of downgraded to that night, because you can't, white will overcast. Like if you had just had all white, it would overcast. It would take over the shadows, the trees, the eeriness. There's a science to what you see, just like a science to what you hear.
Yes.
So that's a whole nother part you got to study, but that people study. But the beauty of it is, it's all a learning process. It's like I said, going back to that fear factor, the fear frequency. Once you learn that, and then if you're creative, you can incorporate that. You feel this little cute little mogwai is now growing into a gremlin, a Godzilla.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's an amazing process. It's tedious, it's timing, but one thing, ... it's worth it.
Oh, hell yeah.
It
All right,
really
let's
is.
get into the people.
Mr. Luis Castillo. He plays Brad. I can go somewhat into the details, but their background.
Give me a background on the actor and why you picked them for the part, not what they play.
Okay, this man, Brad, he's also one of the ones that he plays Bradley. He's Native American. He's part of the Comanche tribe, I believe. I'm 6'1". I believe this man is 6'4". He is a giant over me. For this part, I chose him because he has a humble look, but he also has, I've actually watched some of his other films that he's been in. But he has this humbleness. He's like a humble giant. He's the type that you will argue with, and this is actually putting Easter eggs about the film. You would argue with him, you would yell at him, and he would always come back to you with reason in the same voice. Those are the kind of people you have to look out for.
My husband is like that.
He's also he served in the Army from, I believe, in Brad, forgive me if I'm wrong, from 2007 to 2019. Great man. Who else you got? Holly and Spawn. I've always kind of mingled their names, so I'm sorry if I mentioned it wrong. So Holly, I ended up coming across Holly as a referral, believe it or not, from another one of the actors that's in this film. So with Holly, she's also in Indiana. I have, I think, 3 or 4 actors that's coming from Indiana. Hence why the funding is so important, because I want to take care of them when they get here. I sent Holly the script, and she visually looked like what I looked at as Miranda in this film. I sent her the script. I saw her demo reels, and I was literally wowed by it. Like this, Jackie, I ended up calling these people by their names instead of their real names.
So maybe a little bit like when you're on set and you're like, you want their attention, you do, and then
I'm calling her by Miranda. I'm calling Luis by Brad. So even when Brian and I are talking, we haven't forgotten their names, but when we talk in juxtaposition to the film,
they're elements of that.
Yeah, we go into mind frame of the actor. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's understandable.
Yep. So who else you got for me? Mr. Brunson, Mikey. Mikey is from Racine, Wisconsin. Like I said, going back to the parts, and even before I presented this script, I followed this guy on film shorts that he's done, and he kind of has the energy, going back to what I thought of this character Mikey as. So when I was getting ready to post this on on Actors in Wisconsin, Jackie, he had already started responding to me before when I said, what do you think about if I put this casting up? He showed interest. He not only submitted his headshots, but his demo reel, but also when I forgot the term. I've noticed that people shun you in big time Hollywood if you can't remember certain terms. I sent them part of the script and he nailed it.
Good.
But the treat with him, he gave me 2 different versions of his energy of the rendition of that part of the script.
Talk a little bit about that while I go into transition of the next film.
Okay.
And not next. We're not doing the next film yet.
Right,
We're
I know
gonna
what you
do
meant. The next
photo.
actor. So, for example, if he said we can't just leave him out there, he would say in his the demo reel, he would say, and I'm not an actor, so don't judge me. He would say, we just can't leave him out there. Then the second one, we just can't leave him out there. So he would have 2 different energies, and I could kind of
Don't tell me which one you picked.
Right, I'm not telling you, Jack. Tell you.
You're not gonna tell me nothing.
No, I'm saying Telly. Her nick, we call her Telly, Cheyenne. Chantelly Johnson. I'm about to say Jackson. Oh my goodness, she's gonna slap me for that. This woman is an amazing actor. She does a lot of TikTok videos and just not just TikTok videos. She's been in a lot of film. She's also my pretty much neighbor from Chicago. My mother, where I grew up at, Telly doesn't live too far away from that. So she's also from the south side of Chicago. I needed a sparky fire kind of lead female to play this part. I was kind of nervous, I think, when I reached out to her because I'm like, looking at all of these different things that she's doing, she's not gonna. I mean, now that I know, I can humbly say that she obviously accepted it. She's on there, but she's the spark of a lot of this. The interactions with the actors, the type that if there's like dead silence, for example, and then there's a person that blurts out something uncomfortable, but it makes sense. That's her. We're all gonna die anyway, so let's just do it. Let's just hurry up and get it over with. This train is coming. That's Cheyenne. She's the matter-of-factly actor in this.
That's awesome. I love that.
So Tony Solis, yes. Okay, it's funny that the 4 people that you put together, like initially, you had Holly and Mikey. They're a couple. Cheyenne and Sean. He's the male version of what Cheyenne is in this film. This man sent me his demo reel, and I mean, I don't mean to sound cliche and redundant, but I was wowed by their previous performances, but I had to kind of adopt what they were doing in their current films to see how they would fit in Banjo. Right. And he also nailed it. It was really cool. Like when I did his NDA, I did it by Zoom, and of course they were recorded. This man was just so laid back. It's like he's the type. He's likable. Just visually, I'm not passing judgment on anyone or anything, but he's visually appealing to people. Just like Telly. I mean, just like everyone is. But I'm like, okay, he's definitely Sean. So let's see who else we got.
He fits the bill.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And he's not, he is very visually appealing. Yes.
Yeah. So when you back it with the acting skills, it's just like you're like watching him. Mr. Derek. Oh goodness, Derek. Remember earlier when I mentioned about the people who were just checking up?
For sure.
That's him. That's him right there. He's also another one that's from Indiana. I had to learn all of I didn't just learn, I absorbed the backgrounds of all these people because you start to care about them because not just because they're part of your project, because they become friends.
Yes.
He is a nurse at a hospital. He's done, to me, he favors like a more dangerous Nicolas Cage, if you will.
I can see that.
Yes. But he plays one of the Carver brothers. There's an interesting story behind the Carver brothers, not in banjo, but in real life. What else about him? He also plays, there's 4 people. He's one of the ones that are a part of what happened to Mr. Orion Reed back in the 1800s. So yeah, these people all fit. I mean, it seemed like a magic puzzle. And Ben, he's another one of the Carver brothers. This man is also he's also in the army. I think he's previous army, but we have 3, including myself, military personnel in here. He also recently just did this 100-mile run. Who does that?
Wow.
He said he's okay. The Carver brothers, you have usually, when you have a group of people, you have the ringleader, kind of like the one who really kicks stuff off, like the maliciousness and the nastiness. That's Mr. Joshua Carver. Like I say, he's the ringleader of the Carver brothers. Something else I want to share. I was really nervous. Remember when you said earlier, there's people who are gonna watch this, they're gonna appreciate it, and then there's gonna be the other types.
Mm-hmm.
I was really nervous, and I'm 6'1", 250 pounds, and I was still nervous about mentioning to the Carver brothers that what happens to Orion in this film is not nice, and is going directly back to that song Banjo, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, listen, man, we're actors. This is a part of what we do. I've let people, I mean, even that's not within the filming industry. I mean, people that I know personally,
sure,
see this man's demo reel about one of the malicious parts that he had to do. He was so convincing. He was so convincing. It was like, if put it like this, if it didn't have the background of him being just at home and doing that part, if he was out in the wilderness and it was a POV, it would look like you recorded someone
doing the thing.
Yeah. So that's Mr. Joshua Carver.
So in other words, he really nailed the part.
These people, Jackie, I'm not exaggerating, these people all nailed it. Like it really feels like movie magic. I don't know how much people believe in that, but just it's amazing. Montez. This man is not only a recording artist, but he has this forgive me, Montez, if I'm wrong, but I think it's this Batwing series that he started it, or he kind of started. It's like a fan film. I'm not exactly sure, but I was pulled in by his work ethic, by previous things. He plays Orion. He is the Daniel Robitaille to Candyman, as Orion Reed is to Banjo. This is him. He was also referred to me through Mr. Derek McMahon, the one who plays Joshua. He plays Jacob. He referred me to him as well as Holly, and I've had talks with him personally over the phone. He was so geeked about it, and that his energy gave me energy even more. So
that happens through projects.
Yeah. So he fit the bill for Orion pretty much. So who else we got?
And we're not going to talk about that part because, well, that's the part.
No. This is really taking me. I'm appreciating this because this is taking me back to the process of picking these people. I mean, because every submission is not going to be a good fit.
Right.
So
those were the cast pictures that I had for this particular piece that we're going to be doing this evening. There are many others that have played a part in this. And what I would like you to do now is I would like you to give shout outs to anyone that was upset, or anyone that was like a PSA, or anyone that was in the background, to be able to assist in getting this moving in the right direction.
Gotcha. Actually, and this is what I'm gonna do for this because there is a list of people. I'm not gonna just go all down the line of them,
That's
but
all
for
right.
example, here, let me look up the members. So these are the people that you won't see, but are definitely a part of it. I have, for one, Mr. Eric Wagner. I'm getting tongue twisted a lot. Give me a second, Jack. I'm sorry. I want to look up the members because a lot of them, some of them I just mentioned by their actor name. Here, let me see. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to do that because I know them. Scott Petrie is the cousin of the executive producer, Brian Petrie. He is one of the musicians. This man, he lives in Memphis, Tennessee. He came up here to visit his family, and he sat right behind me, and he brought his guitar, and he brought his speaker and everything, and he plays Stevie Ray Vaughan. What I'm getting at, I watched this man. He does a lot of live film when he's playing. The way that he learned how to do the drones, not the actual drum, I mean the actual drones and the strings, it evokes emotion. That's the emotion that I needed in this film. Also, Eric does the same thing. There's another film, and I'm not going to get deep into it, but I was working on a film called Field of Lambs. Next project further down. I verbally expressed to Eric what I wanted, and he just flat out created it. I'm like, what? So I combined those two together. Also, thanks, Mr. William Elliott Whitmore. There's a drone technician, Brighton Schwab. This man is there's large shoes to fill, but what Jimi Hendrix is to a guitar, this young man is to a drone. He was on the Air Force. He was sponsored by the Air Force racing team for drones.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, I saw his videos. And
All that other stuff is cool, but that's up there.
Yeah, so he does that drone racing where you, that's him. I saw his video, just him being at home and just flying through, or even outside, how he can just fly past a person this close and get that footage and not touch them. Just like.
And them not even be bothered by the thing.
No. Also, let me see, who else did I have on here? We can go down for some. You mean the people that are behind the scenes, of course. Mr. Brian Petrie, he is my brother from another mother. I mean, 100%. He latched on to, when you start as an indie, you want to get it out what you're doing, but you're kind of reserved about it because you don't want it taken, copywritten, plagiarized.
Yeah, right. There's a whole everything going on.
Yeah, not saying that he's not like that at all. Actually, history, we're both single fathers. We used to live next door to each other. I was the assistant property manager where he lives, and we did not know that each other were doing the same thing for years. Yeah. So he's the other half of this Hornz-N-Haloz films. He's invested in his own equipment. Collectively, we have an arsenal. He's learning about all of the little cinematic things that I need, that I learn. He's learned what that I can't learn or I haven't learned yet. So he's the Haloz part from the demon side. So who else do we have here? I'm thinking about in the rest of the actors. We have people that are willing to, they haven't been listed yet, but people that's going to help with the lighting.
It takes a small army or large army to be able to put everything together so that it looks like it is seamless and flawless.
Yep, Brian, for example. Yep.
So easy that somebody could just go, I can do that. Really?
Good luck with that. Brian is cool because Brian's girlfriend is helping with the lighting. Mine is helping with the here. I gotta bring this right now. This is when I really started to feel like an indie. Once you get this.
Oh, hell yeah, I love those things.
Yeah, it's not I don't invest in a chair, but this right here, and just the significance of it, when you are not just when you're filming, but also when you're doing the editing, the significance of what you write on there with the clapping sound, so you know where to edit. So my fiance is going to be that. So going all the way back to the first quarter of this conversation, you have people around you that want to be that see what you're doing. They're going to be inspired. That clapper boy. They're going to be inspired by your inspiration, if you will. If that makes sense. And they've latched
that
on.
really needs to happen too, for it to be able to keep up the momentum that is your film.
Yeah, yeah. So who else? Like I said, the other people, I mean, going back to the potential store owners, I'm going to give them their credit in the, of course, at the end of the film, whether it's whether it's actually catering to take care of these amazing ass actors, or even using their location.
Right. So how many locations did you actually use?
A lot of this happens in the woods, in the forest. Now, the cool thing, and I'm letting away a secret that I shouldn't be giving away. In the state of Wisconsin, we don't need filming permits. You can Google it. But if you're on a reservation or a preserved a conservancy, you need permission. I mean, you need permits for that. But if you're just out, you won't get stopped by law enforcement or anything like that. It's all about doing what you can do with what you have. So we have the forest plays a very large part of this. Other than that, there's 3 other locations. So like with the forest, it jumps back to a lot of different scenes. I mean, you can be here like Matrix and turn here.
Use what you have right in front of you.
Yep.
Do the thing that you need.
Yep.
And so as I was putting this together, I found this phrase.
Okay.
And it is very applicable to film creatives and to any kind of indie creative.
Vindica te. I'm not going to embarrass myself and try to pronounce it. TV. Lay claim to yourself. Yes. That's going back to acknowledge your accomplishments. Goodness. We forget, even beyond film, we forget to do that. We feel like, okay, it's just a part of my process and what I got to do. Acknowledge your processes, acknowledge what you do, because that momentum that you didn't acknowledge, you're going to need that later on.
Right.
Because like you said in the beginning, your determination, everything is going to be tested. There's been, and as you know, just because we've talked interpersonally, there's been some things that's happened in my life to the point I was ready to throw in the towel for this. But there's always going to be their voice. If you're a creative, no matter what you do, their voice is going to annoy you.
And it doesn't stop.
Yep.
It keeps going, but that's because you need to keep going. And everybody else out there, if you are a creative and you're at a point where everything is breaking, go back to what you enjoy.
Yep.
Do that for a bit and lay claim to yourself.
My mother said something, Jackie, that stuck in my head. She said the worst thing that you can be is a has-been to yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then that brings me to this.
Some people want to tap, some people should happen. Yes, that's another thing. That's going back to that action cures fear.
Yes.
If the sky was purple, it would rain grape juice. Listen.
I know, right?
You have to, I mean, it's going back to that action. That's all what this process is. It's about plan, action, execution. I mean, and it's constantly rotating. It's not, once you get to the top of one mountain, there's a lot more to go. I mean, from like we mentioned throughout this whole thing, the development of every facet from you want to have an edge. So like I said, with the Hornz-N-Haloz, we created that apparel. Not just, I mean, yes, to get the name out there and for advertising, but also to take care of these actors before I even had the actors. Before the actors, there was a script. So it's acknowledge your accomplishments. That's one of the biggest things. People feel, especially with doing this here, they feel like the likes and the loves and the care emojis are factors. They are factors from other people's acknowledge. But if you don't acknowledge yourself, it doesn't sustain.
Right.
Those likes are going to dissipate onto the next post. But what you're doing with your core, that's going to be, I know you're still there. That's going to be,
I'm here.
That's going to be evermore. That's going to be.
We're going to play, again, we're going to go and play a trailer that has all of the actors.
All right.
And I think it's very cool. So.
In September 1863, a traveling man came from Alabama to reunite with his lost love. Orion Reed, a banjo player, only made it to the North Woods of Wisconsin.
That's so funny that now I'm thinking back about a couple of other things during this process. You got me? Okay. Even that beginning part with the fire of the H's and the and sign,
right?
I learned how to do that through YouTube University. Because I was going back to thinking about being comparable to like other film production companies. They have this vanity screen, but I wanted to do something comparable to that, so I had to teach myself that. So indies, nothing is impossible. If you think it, if you feel it, it can happen. Also, the voice in the beginning, I got to share this. The voice in the beginning, I could not develop, even how I talk now, that grunge behind it. I think I woke up, I worked second shift. I think I woke up at like probably, well, I'm sorry, I napped about 4:30 something in the morning. And that voice, and I ran right into my writing room and I started recording it. And that's the result of that. Because you wanted that kind of.
You wanted that grunge.
Yeah, yeah.
You wanted that before the coffee, before the anything, before the hot mess is going to happen. You want that.
Exactly.
And we all sound like, even I do. I'm like, is that me? Is that me?
And it fit perfect. Now, I could go on
to what you have in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't, yeah.
Use what you have around you.
Life is a movie. So another thing, I did not share this. Maybe you could possibly tell by the trailer. It's about these couples that they go on a couples retreat. All of their relationships are in some level of detrimental ending. So they decide to go on this weekend retreat. No cell phones, no nothing, just them. And it's kind of sounded cliche to a certain degree. You have people who bring food, they coming in to play with the whole alcohol thing, the moonshine, the extra treats, and someone brings a guitar. This is a combination of Candyman meets Deliverance meets Till meets the Django.
And when he says that, he means that.
Yeah, yeah.
All of
So
that.
yeah. So that every time keep in mind I haven't watched these because I've been in the process of building. So when I see them like, oh, so I'm appreciating that.
You're like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah.
How did you change as this was evolving? How did you change yourself?
How did I change myself?
Mm-hmm.
Oh goodness. I had to challenge going back to that being an introvert. I had to push myself to reach out to people, to learn to rejection is not rejecting you. It's rejecting what you're doing at that time. But that one yes that can balance out a million no's. You know what I mean? So if you get 10, 15, 20 no's, what are you going to do? Tuck your tail and quit? Get your lunchbox and go home? Indies, we don't do that. That's the reason why, and it's not indies against Hollywood or nothing like that.
No.
But if it's not like that at all. But if
it's
you want
against you, dude.
Exactly. So yeah,
that's what it is.
That's
flat out. Before it's anything else, it is you against you. There are, somebody had asked me a number of years ago what I thought about my competition for doing what I do. I said, what competition?
Yeah.
Because it's not that I think that I'm the supreme being of what I do, but I know from where I've come, and I know the direction in where I'm going. And if I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, you're going to be off doing whatever the heck you're doing. And I'm not bothered by you. I'm not bothered if you do better than me.
Yeah.
If you do better than me, I want to see what you're doing. I want to see if I can learn something.
I'm inspired by you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Show me how to do it. Yeah. And if you're just starting out, I think that's awesome.
Everybody started somewhere.
I think that's so super cool. And if you're not really good at what you're doing, but you're trying to learn, I will point you in every direction I possibly can. Yep. And hell, if you're going to be better than me, I helped you do that.
I'm gonna tell you something, and a lot of people won't share this. I mean, it's obviously evident just by what we've talked about all in this. A lot of times, y'all, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I just know that I have a path, and I know what I see is kind of blurry in the distance. So I'm worrying about what's right here. So when you said you were your own competition, whatever you learned yesterday, bring that back here and just keep on building. I joke around with even these actors. I'm like, y'all all must be literally crazy because I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm saying that in a jokingly manner, but I know the path. It's good to not know what you're doing. Yeah. It's also good to say, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just, because that shows, my Sicilian wants to come out now. That shows you and them that you're willing to learn, that you're willing to go the distance, that you're willing to be pliable enough to be able and humble enough, even if you've done like a lot of really, really cool things, that there's always something else to learn, and that the people that have watched you in your progression, they may not always come up to you and say, hey, give you like to your face the accolade, but let me tell you something, they're watching. I've noticed that too. I mean, I've not noticed. I've had that happen to me, and I'm like, who are you? And oh my goodness, you're from that and all of that. So I know that they're watching you. Yep. Always, but always keep going forward. Like just don't stop. Yeah. So what we got? Yeah, super cool. All right, so I'm gonna go. What am I gonna do? I got like so many really. Let's bring up
the inspiration, the part that this gentleman here gets to play is a spark of the inspiration that came to you during a conversation.
Mhm.
And for you to be able to watch him in that element of that creative spark, what did that do for you or to you?
Okay, going back to remember, this is a two-part deal with this. Remember you said how it feels like, what part, how much of a part is this story connected to me?
Sure.
I talked about in the story, there's like some historical justices, and that's how it's related to me. But I chose him, and I've had 4 different people. I even had one person, I invited them to my home, and I wanted them to, like, kind of go over the lines, and I went over it with them, but they couldn't stick to the script. They wanted to input their own ideas and things like that. I'm like, listen, this is like a football game. This battle plan is already laid. I need for you to stick to the script. So this was not Montez. The conversation I had with Montez, and when I requested to look at some of his footage, he has this, I mean, even looking at him, he has this humbleness, this humbled look about him. I saw Orion in him, like, how could I not have him play this part? Because like I said, even before him, I think I had maybe 3 or 4 other people, and one that I had come into my home and just couldn't fit the bill. But he put both shoes on and laced them tight. So I could not go with Montez. Because, I mean, even just looking at it, he has this kind of this humbling, because keeping in mind, this story starts in 1862.
Yes.
So that's very important, and he nailed
At
it.
some point, what I would like to do is bring on the actors that we have portrayed today.
Yeah.
I would like them to be able to have that conversation and tell me how these parts affected them,
Uh-huh.
and carry on their story from banjo into their acting careers as they move forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like super stoked to be able to do that. All right. Let's see, what am I gonna do here? Dun. I'm gonna go here.
I love your logo.
I think logo is created by Jeffrey Kosh Graphics. He's from the UK. He's listed on my Facebook friends list, which is private. But if you need to know the information, just message me and I'll get that over to you. But yeah, that graphic is banging. What did you think about your first interview on Zombiepalooza Radio Live?
I'm sorry, zipped out. I'm sorry.
What do you think about your first interview on Zombiepalooza Radio Live?
You told me beforehand that we were going to go deep with questions. You're going to bring about questions and just kind of follow the flow of it, which it made me think about rethink about my whole process again. Hell, honestly, I feel like I could write a book on the process of it now, because when you're in the process of it, when you're trying to make the fire, you don't think about the fire. Once the fire is going, you forget the process. You, in this situation, to me, are the fire. But I'm saying it's making me think about those embers up under it, how these sparks started, and I'm appreciative of that. Is going back to the acknowledgments of the independent film screenwriter, filmmaker, whatever title we want to give ourselves. We forget about those acknowledgments, and you kind of took me back to, this is where I started doing this, when I just had a notebook and a freaking idea. So the intricate questions, I mean, everything, it challenged me, but I'm loving that. I'm hoping above all that this whole thing that we just did, that it can inspire somebody. Like I was inspired, like I said, by CJ Vecchio and people like that, even by you. When you reached out to me, I felt the same way that I felt when William Elliott Whitmore. I'm like, me? Like, is this somebody else? So I thank you. I thank you so much for that. I really do.
In the course of this 2-hour conversation,
Oh, it's been 2 hours. Wow.
we have gone the gamut from seed to near post-production.
Mm-hmm.
I am absolutely privileged to be able to have that experience with you. And I look forward to being able to see what else you're going to be bringing to show. And at this point, we are going to close out. But what I would like you to do in closing out is I would like you to tell me something that Banjo would have said as a parting. Thank you and good night.